Fluffy licks, colorful chords. You hear it, you know what it's time for, and that is Bleav in Chargers with the great Lorenzo Neal, Matt Money Smith here. We are a week and a day out from the first round of the NFL draft. Of course, round 1 Thursday, 2 and 3 Friday, 4, 5, 6, 7 on Saturday. They will have media availability tomorrow, as a matter of fact, pre-draft media availability tomorrow at the Bowl. So I'll head out to that with Joe Ortiz and Chad Alexander, kind of get their thoughts. They never tell you anything, as they, any team isn't going to tell you anything about their draft plans, but maybe get an idea of, the free agent signings and how that supplements the draft here low. But I mean, we're on it, dude. It's here. It is time I would assume the top 150, the vertical board is set, or it's pretty darn close to being set, and these guys kind of know exactly how this thing's going to lay out.
No question, man. It just seems like yesterday we were watching the Super Bowl and the Chargers in the playoffs, and now we're like a week out. Several weeks ago, you're like, okay, we got some dead time, and now a week out from this draft. And I remember, being drafted and just all the things leading up to it, the combines, the workouts after. Maybe you don't have a great combine. Guys are creeping up the board. You're watching guys. I forget the young kid's name that ran a 4.2, 4.2, and they starting to creep up a cornerback, starting to creep up some boards. So you start to see a lot of guys make themselves some more money even after the combine. So it's really never. I think the top 10 to 15 are pretty much set, and but sometimes you'll just be interested to see kind of what happens. In the later parts of the first round, if a guy's there need. It's just going to be interesting just to see how this draft unfolds. We know the Chargers in free agency, they went out and addressed the needs that they needed. They said, hey, look, what do we got to get? We went and got Najee. We went and said, we know we don't have a back that can be the bell cow, that can carry the ball 20, 30 times a game if needed. So what do? We addressed it in free agency. Okay, we know we didn't have a catch-passing tight end. So what are we going to do? We went out and we said, okay, let's address that in free agency. Now it's like, okay, how are they going to get over the hump? Who is going to be that guy at 22 that the Chargers say, this guy is a playmaker, a game changer, is going to help our offense or either defense? And I know everyone's talking about tight end if he's there, but it wouldn't surprise me if this team went D-line, especially if it's someone interior, because you and I, we talk about it all the time. You did lose a lot of guys in the interior, the rotation. So it's just going to be interesting where this draft, how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think, if you just kind of want to look at needs, the one, if they could probably, if they could have a do-over, I think they'd try to figure out a way to get Poona Ford back, because that's, you lose Poona, and, you heard Coach Harbaugh say it when he was with Joe Ortiz on Pat McAfee's like, yeah, that one left a bruise. And I think for whatever reason, don't know why, if it just kind of got away from them, if they needed to wrap that thing up a little bit earlier, maybe the number they offered wasn't high enough early, and then Poona maybe got upset and he gets a higher number, and it's kind of an I told you so moment from the Rams, and you don't want to let them counter because you're upset about I don't know. I don't know how it all played out, but what I do know is I think if you gave him some truth serum, some sodium pentothal, and you're like, hey man, you think you should have done the Poona thing, they probably would have said, yeah, we should have done the Poona thing.
No.
So that because that speaks to your point, right? Where you do feel like, look, and I have faith in Joe Ortiz and Chad Alexander and Coach Harbaugh, who's I'm sure part of this. They probably feel really good about Naquan Jones and Deshaun Hand, and about Tier Tartan bringing him back, and Tito Abonia is going to be back, and the fact that Justin Aboybe has now got that developmental year behind him, and they expect him to contribute more. But you just feel like, you got to come out of this draft with a D tackle. You've got to come out with a 3 technique, or for that matter, a guy that's versatile enough to maybe be a 3 out to a 5, and that's something that we've talked about some names before. Is it a 0? Is it just that giant body on the inside? But it feels like, if there's one thing you got to do, like that's probably because running back Najee's there. You can figure that out in later rounds if you want. And the one good thing about it though, Lo, is that like it is. We keep saying it, and I feel like I don't want to keep doing the same pot over and over again. But
it's deep.
The D tackle class is so deep. I mean, it is so incredibly deep that you're going to get somebody, if you take them in the first, in the second, even I think in the third round, you're going to be getting someone that I think he's going to get you reps. could end up being a starter. I just feel like this class is that deep, but that's sort of the one position that jumps out at me. Like, yeah, you've got to get that figured out on day 1 or day 2.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Money. And the little pushback is, yes, you can get a guy, and yeah, that you said 1 round, 2 round, 3, agree. But now when you doesn't have necessarily the depth, Khalil Mack, you look at Khalil. Khalil's going to play. You know he can play. And Khalil, yes, is he getting older? Absolutely. This guy's going to end up with, I would say, double digits, 10 sacks.
Yeah.
But what kind of pitch count is he going to be on? You got to realize Khalil Mack can't go out and play you 50, 60 plays anymore. This is not to be effective. Maybe 1 game, but you can't have this guy do this back to back to back. So you're going to have to address the interior lineman, like we said. So that's the biggest deal with me. I would have said, if you would have had Puna, I'm like, hey, look, I'm all in on tight end if your guy's there. But if not, I'm saying, okay, you can look and say, okay, we'll get a tackle or pass rush. But now you're in a situation where you got to address that interior, but then you got to look and say, okay, what is Khalil Mack? How are we going to protect him? Because we got another edge rusher, but do you have enough depth on the interior lineman, especially when you're talking about what the Denver Broncos, they have a quarterback. You look at Kansas City, the Raiders got a little bit better with Geno. So you're going to got guys that can move. You have to be able to rush the passer, and you're going to have to be able to stop the run. And I just think that now you're in a situation. I wouldn't be surprised if this team, going, especially in latter rounds, you got a couple picks in the latter rounds, 2 in the 6th round.
Yeah, got a ton.
I wouldn't be surprised. They got a ton. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 4 defensive linemen on the interior.
Yeah, they're going to draft a couple corners. They're going to draft a couple linemen, at least 1 tackle, 1 edge, if not more, multiple tackles, multiple edges. They're going to draft a couple of linemen, interior linemen. I think you're going to see them draft a center in those later rounds, in that 4th, 5th round, where you tend to find value at that particular position. And I think, the interesting ones will be what rounds, because they're going to draft a running back. It's too good of a draft. It's way too good of a draft to not get out of here with a running back. I think you look at our friend over at The Athletic, Dane Brugler, who does the Beast. He's got 32 draftable running backs in this draft. He got 30 teams. It's like, yeah, all right, so people aren't going to take 2 running backs. So chances are you're going to get someone who's been graded by at least one person as a draftable back that's going to be able to contribute to your team. So that'll be the instrument. So here's what I figured we would do. I think this could be fun for today. One, I want to go through, because we did a live YouTube last week, and there were a ton of comments after that, and I figured we could go through a handful of them just to sort of, because we really kind of worked through a lot of this, and this is a way for us to interact with a lot of these people. And we love all the folks, like from Thomas and saying, all these folks, they're saying, we love the show. Thanks so much. But here's sort of some of the things that came in this way. Young QB, future. No, that's not it. Here we go. Little off topic. Thoughts on Darius Davis. I don't catch every game, but when I do see him play, he seems to be making tough and timely catches, and he's so fast. Why is he not playing as much at wide receiver? So I start there because I think that's a really interesting question. And I don't know why, but there's certainly something there. You would think that he made that. Remember, I think it was the game against Denver late in the year, the one that got flexed into Thursday night when he had that killer touchdown grab. But I think this is a big year for Darius. Like, I think it's a big training camp for Darius. I think it's for him to be on this team. When you think about that wide receiver room and how they, if they're going to draft a wide receiver high in the first 2 rounds, first 3 rounds, and I think they're going to, like, what does that mean for him moving forward? We know returners are important. He's one of the best in the business. So I feel like he's all right. But it's such a curious player for me, because I'm trying to figure out, why isn't there more? And if there isn't more, is that something that we should keep an eye on about him being on the team moving forward?
Yeah. Since we're in that spear, in that vein of just receivers, it's like when you think about, even with Q, here's a guy that's fast, but hand still is a little shaky, inconsistent. You look at what you have in McConkey, he's your one. We understand that. Yeah. But can Williams really separate? So when you look at this receiver, and that's why you're talking about spending a high draft capital in the top 3 rounds for a receiver. And, so I know people talk about Kyle Williams, and you said you don't necessarily. Yeah. And I'm with you, because you already got McConkey and Kyle. If you get Kyle Williams, he's shorter guy. So now do you have those? You're going to have to get a guy that's going to have some length red zone type of guy, can still stretch the field. So I don't know, like you're saying, I don't know if it's necessary when people talking about Kyle Williams, but he's fast, but that's kind of comparable to McConkey because they're statures. So it's going to be interesting. Who's going to step up? Is this a deal where the Chargers are going to say, are they going to try to trade Q? Have they tried to trade him already? Because I don't see that complimentary guy yet for McConkey. Not that they don't have guys, but do you really have a guy you say, we can lay our hat on? Besides McConkey, who's your guy?
No, it's a great point. I mean, he was tripled. They were triple teaming him in that Houston playoff game, and he still got 200 yards receiving. So yeah, Kyle Williams is an interesting one because, and I think it's sort of a similar conversation that people are having with Egbuka and Luther Burden, and it's like, I get it with their size, but and this better than I do, Lo, but yeah, it's nice to have that 6'3", 6'4" guy that has that big red zone target that can win, those 50-50 catches. But at the same time, you can still be 6 foot and play X and get off press and be strong and fight through. Like, there's plenty of guys out there that are incredible receivers that aren't, that are 6'1". Egbuka's 6'1". Egbuka can play the X. He can play the Z. He's tough. He was just overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith because he's the best receiver we've ever seen as a freshman at Ohio State. But I think we forget that that's who Egbuka was when he was a freshman. And that's who we were talking about. Like, oh my God, this Egbuka is incredible. And now it's almost like it's sort of become old hat because he's just been super consistent and incredible and helped win a national championship this year. But like, that to me is, if that's the pick at 22, I get it. And if people might say, well, he's same size as Ladd. No, he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit bigger than Ladd. And he can play outside. And Ladd can play outside. Ladd, we've seen it. We've seen him play outside. So it's like, all that stuff works. But the Darius Davis thing's interesting to me because he's such a good returner. He's so fast. You've got to have a creative offensive coordinator that's getting those gadget plays in there, the jet sweeps, the smokes, the bubble screens, the things, and then just unleash that speed when the defense flat-footed and make sure you hit them, just to kind of put that threat out there and plant that seed. And so that to me was an interesting one. Let's go through a couple more of these. I'd be stoked if we got Zabel at 22. Tom put that. I think that's in the realm of possibility for sure. For sure it is, because he can play all 5 positions. And that's what makes Zabel much more valuable at 22 than Tyler Booker, who's just going to be a guard. Zabel played tackle. His arms are a little bit short for tackle, but that's what he did. And he dominated at tackle at North Dakota State. Took snaps at center. I think that's where he'll probably end up, and can certainly play guard. So that's where the Gray Zabel thing comes in at 22. And it's funny, Lo, like I keep going back to it. And I just feel like this team is so similar to the Eagles, where they're drafting line round 1, man. That's just what they're going to do. They're just going to take the big bodies in round 1 and then supplement in the like people that were talking about Omarion Hampton in the first round as a running back. It's like, yeah, he's incredible. And I can see it. I can see how the value is there at 22, but it just seems like they'd be more apt to say, nah, we're going to take the guy that's going to help Omarion Hampton get through the offensive line in round 1. And then we're going to take the Omarion Hampton in round 2. It just feels like that's maybe more the identity of this team, that it is a Gray Zabel or it is one of those defensive tackles. And then you're going to get your wide receiver, tight end, running backs in those later rounds.
Yeah, it sounds fancy. And you want the shiny car, of course, the running back, tight end, the receiver. But we talked about it. This team likes to build in the trenches. We talked about how important it is for Harbaugh. You saw in the playoff game the inability to run the ball, and Justin was running for his life back there, and just the pressure on the quarterback. If you have a decent running game, if you have guys that can run the ball, but you have guys that can create new line of scrimmage up front, you can get an average runner out back there, and he can still be pretty productive. So I think that you have to look at the trenches. And whether it's offensive line or D-line, you and I, we're in the same church, same pew. I think that this, without a doubt, I would be shocked if it's not O-line or D-line or pass rusher with the first pick of the 22nd. I think that that's what they're going to do.
Or if one of those 2 corners slide, Lo. I think if one of those 2 corners slide, if for whatever reason Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron slide, then I can totally see that because
you could see them jumping on. Yeah, if they slide that to 22, you could see them jumping in the corner.
Just because Will wouldn't run the 40 and people are concerned about the speed, just watch the guy play, man. He's freaking ridiculous.
Player.
He's ridiculous. He's a legit pushing 6'2", and you just see the way he sees it and breaks on the ball and all that. I don't think he's that fast. That's why he's not running it, because I'm guessing he's probably more of a 4-5 guy, and that scares people. But it's like, I don't care, man. Just watch him play. And I know this year wasn't great, but Michigan wasn't great this year. Last year with Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, he was lights out in the conversation. And that's similar to the Derek Stingley conversation, right? When people were like, well, didn't really have a great year this year at LSU. It's like, yeah, go back a year. Watch that tape and then watch that practice tape of him going up against Jamar Chase. And there's your answer. And it's like, so.
Is that where you think is that where
I just think if he slipped. Yeah.
Is he make that executive decision and say, I know this guy, this kid, I know what he can do.
Yeah, so I think so. I mean, and if you're Joe Ortiz, of course you're going to lean on that, right? Like if Kenneth Grant's sitting there, if Colston Loveland's sitting there, and if it's, if for some reason Johnson, Campbell, or Grant, or I shouldn't say Campbell, Johnson, Colston Loveland, or Grant are all there, then yeah, I totally think you'll see them go to coach and say, what do you think? So, and then Jahdae Barron, who's a smaller guy, probably more, a lot of people are saying nickel. You already got Derwin as your big nickel, but a zone corner, and nobody played more zone than Jesse Minter last year, and played a ton of quarters. And so he's going to fit into that. And he's another guy who's just so smart, so physical, great at tackling. So anyway, yes, line one of those corners, because there's a gap. There's a big gap between, those two. I think, some people would disagree. A lot of people like Hairston. But I think that's what's in play. This one comes from, it's so funny how different everybody is in these comments, right?
Right.
Take one of the top tight ends or running backs in the first round. That's the best. I don't know about future drafts, but linemen are always there. It's funny. I couldn't disagree more. No, there's always, tight ends. Yes, I would agree with that. They're not always there. And if one of those top two is there, sure, but it's a deep tight end class this year. And you see how many, George Kittle, Travis Kelce,
yeah. Right.
Sam Laporta. These are all guys that are drafted in later rounds and have become, Dallas Goedert, Trey McBride. These are second rounders that, or late first rounders or third rounders or fourth rounders that become really, really good tight ends. And I think you're going to be able to get out of this draft with a really good tight end in the third round, in the second round. Colston Loveland, don't get me wrong, he's awesome. And if he's at 22, I'd love it if they took him. Same with Trey Warren. But if they get out of round 2 with Arroyo or Mason Taylor, they get out of round 2. Even if they get out of round 2 with Fannin, if they take Fannin at 55, I'm fine with that. I think you might be able to get him in the third. Ferguson in the third. Like there's tight ends here. More linemen are going to get taken in the first round. Let's see. Shoot, I miss you guys. Hart wants a wide receiver. I say go edge. Wouldn't be surprised with Zabel. There you go. That fits into us. Here we go. This is Darren has given us his final draft. Zabel 1, Travion Henderson 2, Dante Thornton just 9 routes all day long 3, Jamari Caldwell 4. See, and that's again speaks to the depth of the defensive tackle class. And then we'll just kind of clip it there. Appreciate you guys. People are finally waking up to Higgins. He's going. I don't know if Higgins is going to go. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. I don't know if he's going to go round 1. I could see it. He's big. He's what you talked about, Lo. That true X, right? Big body, 6'3". Had a really good year at Iowa State. I think we're most likely to do something like last year, trade up in the second, maybe. I could totally see that with all those 6s and a 5. You can get rid of a 5 or your 4 or something if you want to pop up a couple spots, swap 4s or whatever, swap a 4 for a 5. All that stuff is possible for sure. Like say it's Mason Taylor, and he slid to 38, 40, and you're sitting there at 55, and you're like, all right, can we swap our 3 for your 4, and let's go get our guy? Sure, I could totally see that. Best player available, 22. Like moving up in the second, talked about that. First to 6 to 8 in the second are much better than 55. I still think it's deep enough, Preston. I think it's deep enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why is Lowe always in the car? Because Lowe's always on the move, man.
I'm always on the go. Hey, why is Lowe? You guys like me in the car. See, I'm at home today. I'm at home
exactly. Today you're at home.
We're always going on the fly, money. We're always on the fly. I don't know if we're going morning. I don't know if we're going night. And the big fella's got to get out. I got to get out and see the world, baby.
Exactly right. Exactly right. He's got his man on the move, man. He's spinning plates. Got a lot of businesses to run, man. Restaurants, gymnasiums, rental properties. He's got it all. Car dealerships. Lowe owns like half of the no. That's the saying. Lowe owns half of the no. Here we go. Would like to see a trade down to around 28, pick up a second or third and fourth, trade some lower picks. Well, shall say this, man. The Chargers and about 10 other teams would like to do that. Problem is finding the team that wants to jump up to do it. And that's what we were talking about last week with the quarterback. If Jalen Milroe's getting some, and he's starting to get some heat, man. He got invited to the draft. So you feel like there's a little heat on that. Jackson Dart's got some heat. If you're talking about 4 quarterbacks and someone's trying to jump in front of the Rams or something like that, then that could end up working out for him for sure.
Do you think Harbaugh trades back anymore? So I
think they'd love to.
They let the 6th round. I mean, the second day 3. I mean, all the picks they have. I mean, is this something that him and their staff and Ortiz? They're like, look, let's load up in 6th, 5th round is what's the thought process? Tell the listeners what's the thought process behind that.
Yeah, so it's just how many first-round grades do you have? How many players do you have on your board with a first-round grade? And when you're picking at 22, very, very, very rarely are there 22 first-round grades in a draft. It almost never happens. Last year, I think, might have been the first year that I heard people talk about that. So that's the idea. It's like, hey, if I'm at 22 and they don't necessarily grade it that way. It's not necessarily graded like, hey, this is a player you take in the first round, second round. I'm just saying that for the sake of this conversation. A lot of times, first round players are starter. This is going to be a starter. That's what they want out of the first round. So that's the grade. How many starter grades we come out of training camp, bang, Joe Alt is your starting right tackle. We come out of training camp, we expect Q, bang, to be our starting wide receiver. Now, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, right? Derwin James, starting box safety. Quarterbacks are different, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what a first round grade is. And so when you have starter grades, or however they want to grade it, it's NFL.com. Lance does it the way that I would imagine Joe Ortiz does it the way that he does. So what that typically means is it's like a 6'4" is a starter. So how many 6'4", 6'5s do you have out there? Those are the guys you're willing to take in the first round, Pro Bowl level. So once you don't have that anymore at 22, it's like, well, I've got all of these grades now. I've got all these 6'2s and these 6'1s from 17 to 65. Let me get another pick in here. Can I get rid of 22, pick up 28 and 60? And now I've got 3 picks instead of 2 for guys that are all graded almost exactly the same. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So that's why you would move back to.
That's why you move back.
Okay. Can you see the chart? This draft can you see that happening at 22, or is that's slim to none because the need is so great interior linemen?
No, I just think there's not enough teams that'll want to trade up. That'll want to give up.
Gotcha. Because it's not enough one grades to want to right.
Gotcha. You would have to have somebody slide. Like if Walter Nolan's there and they're like, you know what, I don't care about all the stuff people are saying and maturity question stuff. I got to go get this guy. This guy could be the best player in the draft when it's all said and done, and I'm going to go get him. So I'm going to trade up there to get him. T-Mac has slid. I don't care about the whole he cruises too much. He's 6'4", 225, 50-50 ball winner. I'm going to get him. Like that's the sort of stuff we're talking about. It would have to break that way.
Got you. You're right about that, Nolen. I've been watching some highlights. I mean, I got the Niners on the phone. He's not getting past them, even if he slips. I mean, there's some guys like this kid. He can play. He's a record, game record.
So and a lot of it has to do with needs, right? Niners need, they need a tackle, man. And so that's where you try to get into that position where you don't need anything. We have enough depth across the board where we don't feel like we need it. And, that's you never know. To me, Walter Nolen, too many teams are going to feel the way that we do about him. That it's just like, yeah, that's fine. I'm willing to take the home run swing. There's too much there. Would you trade up to get Warren? No, I wouldn't. Well, I shouldn't say that, Justin. I would. It's just so expensive to trade up in the first round. And I just don't feel like, I shouldn't say would I? Yeah, I think he's going to be incredible. But I just feel like the cost is prohibitive. And this team wants their 1, their 2, their 3. They want those. It's just how they build. It's how the Ravens build. It's how I think this team is going to build. They draft and they develop and they want to keep their guys. And free agents are there to supplement. So they want to hit on those picks. Those 1, 2s, and 3s. Those first 3 rounds are imperative for a team like the Ravens. Like you think about the Ravens, they get guys like Matabike in the 3rd round. The Eagles get guys like Milton Williams in the 3rd round. That's sort of, the deal. So this guy, your praise of Kiper is a bit off base. His hit rate is miserable. Like, here's the thing, dude. Like, do you understand how hard it is to project 32 picks in the first round? How hard it is to predict? Lo, why don't you tell our friend Russ what the jump is like from college to the NFL, how big of a jump that is in projecting whether or not someone's going to be successful or not.
I got a bunch of guys on the Ryan Leaf. I got a bunch of guys on the phone that you see that you can predict. You think about how many guys, DeMarcus Russell, that everyone predicts is going to be this great NFL player. It is so hard to pick who's going to be who and how guys play just because you look at a college guy and say, oh, that guy's going to be the guy. It's not a guarantee. The level money is unbelievable. People just have no clue because a lot of physicality, yes, a lot of them have the physicality, but it becomes above the shoulders, especially on the next level. A lot of guys just been able to line up in college and just play. When you get to the next level, there's a lot of other things that's going to go with it. You see guys quit. You see guys just don't love football. Instead of quit, they just start loafing. They get cut. They run out of league. So when people say, oh, he missed on this one, don't listen to Mel, don't listen to these guys. It is so hard to predict the draft.
Yeah. And like, here's the thing too, everybody becomes a draft expert this time of year. Like you don't even know who Omar Norman Lott is if it isn't for Mel Kiper. Like you're not even aware of him. You don't, because the guy barely played. He played passing downs only. He was a pass rush specialist at Tennessee. Like guys like that, you don't know who these people are. You're not familiar with Shamar Turner or Nick Scorton, and you don't know that Nick was at Purdue and was 30 pounds lighter and was an edge and what A&M asked him to do. Like that's all stuff that Mel's doing for you. So, take your shots at, oh, his hit rate's terrible. You don't have a clue. And I don't mean that you specifically, Russ, maybe you're a huge draft guy, but my point is like the people that want to take shots at McShay, at Kiper, at DJ, like those guys are the only reason you know anything about the draft is because of them. Otherwise, you're completely in the dark. You might know the teams that you're watching, but you couldn't possibly be familiar with RJ Harvey at Central Florida. You're just not. I'm sorry. Or Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech. You're not. That's not how this works. They come on your radar because of the Dane Bruglers of the world, because of the Mel Kipers of the world. That's why you start to watch players like that, like the Devin Neals from Kansas or Giddens from Kansas State, because they tell you to. So to me, it's just a little respect for those guys in the amount, because I see it. I see it with DJ every single flight, while I'm busy watching anime, and he's grinding tape for hours and hours. And when I'm going out with some guys, from the team, and they're like, hey, we're gonna go grab a bite. DJ, you want to come? Nah, dude, I'm working guards. And he just stays in. That's what the guy does. He just grinds tape all the time. So that's a little bit of a hot button for me.
No, and you well said, Money, because I'm telling you now, I couldn't do it. I mean, I see the time. You try to evaluate a player, and then not 1, 2, 3, 4. They're doing hundreds. 600.
Yeah. 600.
Yeah.
Like I'm not exaggerating. They're doing 600. It's
you
crazy.
Don't have the time. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So let's wrap with this, dear. Or I figure what we would do is just run through some scenarios here, because as I get this thing set up, Lo, I saw it on my Instagram. Lowe's going. Lowe's
Yeah.
going to Brazil.
I'm gonna
You're
hit
going to Sao
Brazil, and you know
Paulo.
what, money? I know you're gonna be there, so maybe we can hang out. But yeah, I hooked up and excited about it. We're gonna leave in September, of course, and it's gonna be on the 3rd flights, all that out of San Diego, whatever,
So
LA,
you're leaving
San Diego,
Wednesday.
whatever. What's that?
Leaving Wednesday?
Yes, it's gonna leave on Wednesday. Yes, the 2nd, which is Tuesday, right?
Okay,
So
yeah, second is Tuesday.
yeah, it's gonna leave Tuesday, and always 7 days, and it's in Brazil. It's gonna be unbelievable. I'm coming back, of course, on Saturday. So, but everyone's flying back Monday or Sunday. Sunday's the game's on Friday, and it's really really awesome. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be awesome. While you're looking that up, I'm going to look at the where they can go and get the website where you're still talking about that.
All right.
Real quick here.
So here's what I did. Pulled up first 4 rounds. We're going to do 4 rounds. And 4 is even a lot, I think. Should probably just do 3, but I'm just going to do 4 here, mock draft, just to kind of give an idea of, what happens if you go D tackle 1? How does it look for tight end? And what happens if you go wide receiver 1 or tight end 1 or running back 1? Like, what does the depth of the other position groups do? What does it look like? And how do you get out of those first 3 rounds? And what level of player are you getting out of those first? Because think about it. Last year, they got out of the first 3 rounds with 3 starters. I know Colston got hurt, right? But Colston's going to be a great player. He's going to be a starter this year. So they got out with Joe Alt, borderline Pro Bowler, should have been a Pro Bowler at right tackle. Oh, yeah. Ladd McConkey should have been a Pro Bowler at wide receiver. And Junior Colston's going to be a starter this year. That's what they got out of the first 3 rounds with. That's what you want to do. So if we just kind of run this draft here, as I just hit go, here we are at 22, and I'm just going to reject all the trades. Like here, New York has offered us their 2nd and 7th. I would take that. I would absolutely take their. Actually, no, I would not take this. They're only offering 34 and the 7th. Absolutely not. The Rams are offering their 3rd and a bunch of next year's. Eagles are doing a bunch of next year, so we reject them all. So here's what we have on the board. Colston Loveland. There's our tight end, right? You got the edge, Jihad Campbell. You got your tackles. Walter Nolan's there. You got the other edge. Ezaraku is there. You've got Egbuka, your wide receiver. I mean, this board is laid out favorably. So let's go with the tight end here, Lo. Let's take Loveland, and let's see what that does for us in terms of interior offensive linemen and defensive tackles with our pick number 55. I'm just going to reject all the trades. So here we go at 55. Got Tyleik Williams sitting there. See, now here at 55, Mason Taylor's here in this one. And it's like, how do you feel about taking Colston Loveland and Mason Taylor? And now all of those tackles are, well, now Darius Alexander is here at tackle, at defensive tackle. So feel a little bit better about that. But your Derek Harmons, Walter Nolan's, Kenneth Grant's, all those guys are, the premier D tackles are gone. Your running back's gone. Or Travion Henderson's there. So you feel pretty good about that. Interior O lineman, let's check that. We've got Tate Ratledge, got some injury concerns there. Definitely not worth pick 55. So you've lost, kind of that Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker interior lineman. So I think, and then wide receiver, Jaden Higgins is here in this particular exercise. That's a pretty darn good value. I kind of like Darius Alexander a little bit more. So I'm going to take the D lineman here. What would you do? Would you take the X receiver here, Lo? Or would you take the D lineman? Or would you take the perfect complement at running back in Travion Henderson, that explosive lightning to Najee's thunder? What I'm putting this in your boat.
Yeah, you're going to put it in my
Alexander.
Hand. You know what? I would go running back for the fact that here's the situation. If something's going to happen to Najee, who do you have? You saw last year the inability to run the ball once the number 1, when J.D. Dobbins was hurt. You saw it was a drastic fall off. I would be shocked if there's if they keep more than 2. Najee, if they keep anybody else on that team, the Chargers roster, because you have to upgrade at running back. It was a dire need. So I'm going running back.
You're going to go running back. All right. Travion Henderson, we take him at 55. Now let's see what we end up with at 86. All right. So we've got our pass rushing D lineman. I mentioned him earlier. Omar Norman-Lott sitting there. CJ West is there in the third round as well. Ty Robinson, big-bodied Nebraska, corn-fed dude. We've talked about him in the past. Jamari Caldwell, so I think he's a little bit more fourth round than third round for me. So I think here, if we go D-line, it's going to be the pass rusher. Just kind of think about the Morgan Fox sort of role since he's moved on to Atlanta. You got Omar Norman-Lott. Just weird at Tennessee. They never played him against the run, but man, he just explodes. He's a freaking bowling ball of butcher knives, just kind of flying through the line every time the ball is snapped. He's got incredible get off. Or CJ West, who I think is probably a little bit more well-rounded. You could probably keep him on the field for, first, second, third downs. I think Norman-Lott's probably going to be a little bit more of that Morgan Fox role. So it's one of those two guys. If we go interior O-lineman, Ratledge is still there, as I thought he would be. Miles Frazier, a lot of people like him, the guard out of LSU. I like the center, Jake Majors. Been talking about him for a long time. Heard about him at the Combine. If we go corner, let's see. At corner, we've got I like Noel Williams. I think you can get him in the fourth. Dorian Strong's a nice prospect. Again, I still think that's more of a fourth round pick. So I'd say we're off a corner. I'm going to focus D-line here. And, oh, by the way, let's just do this. Tight ends that are still on the board. Fannon's here in the third. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm fine. I love Fannin. And Gunnar Helma's still here. You can get him in the fourth. Ferguson's here in the third. So I'd feel really good about one of the point. Here's the point of this exercise. I hope I'm not rambling too much. Like, you took Colston Loveland in the first, and here in the third, you would have had access to Harold Fannin, Terrace Ferguson, Gunnar Helm, Mitchell, all access to them in the third, right? We took Travion Henderson in the second, and here in the third, Scadaboo's there for us. RJ Harvey's there for us. DJ Giddens, Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, Bashal Tootin, all those guys, Trevor Etienne, they're all still on the board. So it's like, that's sort of the trade-off.
Wow.
Like, to me, the position that's gotten the most thin out of all of them is the interior offensive line. Like, I'm going to take, I think I'm going to go ahead and take take CJ West here, the D tackle. And I think that's the main concern. Like, if Frazier's there in the fourth round, then we're going to feel a little bit better about this. But that's sort of the one issue that I'm talking about is, and let's see, see Frazier's still here. So in that case, you get out with, here, we're in the fourth round. Let's see what running backs are still available. Giddens is still there. RJ Harvey is still there. Bashal Tootin's still there. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Trevor Etienne, Jordan James from Oregon. Like, dude, this running back class is so deep. That's all in the fourth round. Tight ends, Gunnar Helm is there in the fourth. I'd be totally fine drafting that dude in the fourth round if you end up taking Walter Nolen or Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant or one of those guys in the first round, or Gray Zabel. So that's kind of the point of the exercise here. Interior offensive line, I think Miles Frazier, and like
when you just read off the list of the running backs still available and possibly in the fourth round, I tell you what, the Chargers, if it's turning out the way that you have this mock, without a doubt, the first three rounds, I guarantee the Chargers going interior. It's going to be offense and defensive lineman. Less than one of those corners you said maybe slip for that first pick. But if that doesn't happen, you are going defense and offensive interior. You are not getting a receiver. You're not getting a tight end. If it's not, and you're not getting a running back. If those three picks.
See, on there we didn't get a receiver. We didn't get a receiver. So because we passed on Higgins there, and I forgot to look up where that was my fault. I should have looked up receiver. I didn't on that. So you gave me the opportunity to grab the X receiver. You said it might be there. All right, let's do it again real quick, and then we're going to wrap this thing super quick. Just kind of knock this thing out. So here we go. Reject my trades. At 22, Colston Loveland. We've got Walter Nolen's there. Gray Zabel is there. We've got Ezaraku the edge, Egbuka the wide receiver. So let's go that interior offensive lineman route. Draft the best interior lineman on the board. That's Gray Zabel. We're going to take him at 22 because we felt like that position got thinned out pretty quickly And now here we go at 55. We have got the corner, Trey Amos. Solid zone corner is sitting there. Your guy, Travion Henderson, is there. Our tight end is there, Mason Taylor. So you've got him sitting there. Defensive lineman, Darius Alexander, who we talked about. So here we go. Let's go trenches and see how it plays out. We'll take Alexander, who we like a lot more than the other guys we picked. So we'll take Alexander there, and now we can see what we can get for tight end or running back in the 3rd and 4th round and how that plays out. Here we go. Running back, Scadaboo sitting there. RJ Harvey's there. So there we go. Those would be my top 2 here. Scadaboo and Harvey are available. And then tight end, Fannin is off the board. Ferguson, Gunnar Helm are there. For me, I think I know what you want to do, Luke.
Scadaboo, baby.
Scadaboo it is. Here we go. We're drafting Scadaboo. And now we'll see if we got a tight end sitting there for us or if there's a wide receiver sitting there for us. In the 4th, let's see, reject that. And yeah, I like Torrey Horton from Colorado State. Had a much better 23 than 24. Dante Thornton, we talked about him. He's just your burner of burners. I like Pat Bryan. He's more of a 4th rounder. Those guys are, and here we are at pick 125. Like I could take Torrey Horton, the wide receiver, tight end. Look at that. Still got him here. Terrence Ferguson, Gunnar Helm. Got them both. So
I like it.
Boom. Let's go with the duck the duck. And now we feel great. Zabel, got your offensive line. Alexander, got your defensive line. Scadaboo, got your running back. Ferguson, got your tight end. See what I mean?
That's a. But we still didn't get our. We still didn't get our receiver. That's
still
okay.
Didn't get our, all right.
We can find something and maybe.
Like that's.
It's going to be tough. But you're going to have to sacrifice something. You know how that goes, money. And in order to get what you're going to sacrifice.
I'll I'll let you finish it up, but I'll just say this. Every single year, I think we're going to start to see receiver drafts like we saw last year. It's what kids are doing, man. And they see they're going to get paid $40 million a year. It's the most marquee, if you're not quarterback, kids want to be a receiver. It's the proliferation of 7-on-7 and Friday Night Lights and the way these kids are playing, and there's more receivers than ever. And to me, this is just a down year for receiver. I think Ladd McConkey was the 8th receiver taken. Think about that. 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8th receiver taken. So I think if you don't get that guy in this draft, I'm not going to sweat it because I know next year there's going to be a ton more receivers. And the year after that's going to be the Jeremiah Smith draft. So that's my whole thing with receiver. But fun exercise. All right, Brazil. What are the details?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you this is the details. Heading to Brazil in September on the 2nd. A company reached out to me called Sports Travel. It's called Sports Fan Travel. They reached out and said, "Hey, Lo, we want you to come and be their ambassador. Come to Brazil." Yeah. They're flying me out, and this is going to be awesome. I'm talking about the Brazilian steakhouse. All food, all meals are included, and this is going to be an awesome trip. You just head to the airport wearing your favorite jersey, Chargers jersey. It's going to be shuttles to and from the airport. They have it all set up for you. All you have to do is go to a simple website. It's called boltsinbrazil.com. Go to boltsinbrazil.com, and all the details are on there. It's going to be a great time. 6-hour tailgate, all the drinks included, money. It's going to be a blast.
Heck yeah. Get that cachaça out there, man. That's what I'm talking about, Lo. Hey, all I want to know is how do I sit next to Lo on the plane so I can talk his ear off for 12 hours.
Hey, I'm going to hit the water with you, buddy. I'm going to get out. I'm going to take you and take me surfing with you.
Done. That is a done deal. I'm not taking you surfing with me. I'm taking you to be my muscle in case somebody tries to jump me because I snake their wave. That's why I'm bringing you with me, Lo. All right. So boltsinbrazil.com is the website. You want to go with Lo. And hey, man, you don't have to do any legwork. Let them do it all for you. One package deal, and you're rolling with Lo Neal. How about that? One package deal.
One package deal, and you're rolling with Lo Neal. I'm going to use that money next time.
Done.
One package deal. Roll with Lo Neal.
Done. All right. Good one. Appreciate everybody. Leave your comments below, and we'll get into those next week. You know what? Next week, we're going to do a live. We're going to do a YouTube live because it'll be right before the draft. We'll do it Wednesday before the draft. And certainly appreciate y'all. Make sure you comment, rate, let everybody know about us. And we love doing it. Excited about what's going to happen. And I know it was a little meandering, but that's just what the draft is. There's so many different directions and names and crap, and it just gets weird. But appreciate you, Lo, and appreciate all you folks for listening.
Cheers. Bolt up.